SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Are you a business owner looking for help with HR benefits and payroll? MWG Employer Services offers a wide range of services and can create a custom plan that fits your needs and budget.
I was so overwhelmed with HR stuff. MWG Employer Services took all the stress out of it and even set up my payroll. I couldn't be happier. MWG
Employer Services is here to help you succeed. Call us today at 601-206-7966 or go to MWGEmployerServices.com.
You're listening to SportsTalk Mississippi On Demand, presented by Pearl River Resort. Escape to Choctaw, Mississippi and enjoy world-class gaming, the Dancing Rabbit Golf Club, and Geyser Falls Water Park. Escape to Pearl River Resort.
Sports Talk Mississippi is on the air. Sports Talk Mississippi is powered by C-Spire. Power your home or business with C-Spire Fiber. To learn more, visit supertalk.fm/C-Spire. C-Spire Fiber powers SuperTalk Mississippi. To the junction, in the Grove, and to the top. This is Sports Talk Mississippi. On your radio and in the game, right here on Super Talk Mississippi.
Welcome in Day 2 SEC Media Day, Sports Talk Mississippi. Michael Borkey, Brian Hadad with you. Houston McDavid making everything happen over here. Will East in the studio. We got boots on the ground with Caleb Sailors here now. Super Talk News. We'll need him tomorrow, especially and Thursday as well. We have 4 teams coming through today. Mm-hmm. Auburn, Georgia, South Carolina, and Vanderbilt. Of course, tomorrow will be Ole Miss Day for us. Thursday will be Mississippi State Day. We've got a great lineup coming your way. We got a lot to talk about, especially around the interview that I did with Greg Sankey. I think he delivered a warning shot to Clemson. And you'll hear it, and we'll talk about it coming up here in a little bit as well. But we are so glad that you guys are with us from partly cloudy Florida. Not really sunny either day, but we are so glad to be here. So glad that you guys are with us, and let's dive in.
Yeah, we're glad to be here with you in the Pearl River Resort Studios. No matter where we go, we're in the Pearl River Resort Studios. And you can be at Pearl River Resort anytime you want. Just book your stay now at pearlriverresort.com. Our SEC Media Days coverage is brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Cannon Motors. See your Mississippi Ford Lincoln dealers. Cannon Ford Lincoln of Starkville, Cleveland, and Pascagoula. During the summer sales event, take advantage of rates as low as 0% APR on select models at Cannon Ford Lincoln of Starkville, Cleveland, and Pascagoula. Remember, nobody beats a Cannon deal. Nobody. CannonMotorCompany.com. Mississippi Farm Bureau Insurance Company, local agents and adjusters, great rates, fast, fair claims. Go to MSFBINS.com to find a local agent near you. And Trustmark Bank. Trustmark gives you the tools, technology, and financial know-how to get where you're going. Whatever your plans, tomorrow starts today. Trustmark, people you trust, advice that works. Member FDIC. The C-Spire text line is open to you at 601-879-4395. Right now, the C-Spire Ultimate Connect bundle. Get all the devices you need with one bundle plus 100 gigs of data for only $90. That includes the new iPhone 17. Check it out now at your local C-Spire store or visit cspire.com. C-Spire, inspired by you. I was want to see if anybody thought we would froze up there for a second.
Quick PSA. So you can read about it on supertalk.fm. There is a tropical storm brewing in the Gulf right now. It might impact our travel on Friday.
Thursday could be our last show.
But more importantly, it will impact those of you on the coast. All of our coastal counties are currently under a tropical storm warning. Again, go to supertalk.fm. You can read about where if you need sandbags for your property, there are all the addresses you need to go pick some up to make sure that you prevent flooding in your home. There's a chance that it impacts those of us, especially on the Gulf Coast. So supertalk.fm has you covered. Of course, they will continue to update as that storm moves and the path changes and all that stuff. So just be safe, be careful. It is hurricane season as well as talking season, and so be on the lookout for that. Coming up here in about 10 minutes from right now, you'll hear my conversation with Greg Sankey. But let's pause and talk about that after we hear it. What did you hear? What did you see today? What do you think about what went on today in the 4 teams that were here?
Well, I think the big story of the day is the Feinbaum guy getting kicked out. But other than that...
So tell the people what happened there.
So if you're a Feinbaum listener, which I hope you aren't because it means you're not listening to this show, but that one of their legendary callers, no pun intended, is nicknamed Legend. So where we are in the hotel, we're on the second floor. There's the area right outside where we are is not a credentialed area because there's a UPS store right there. So they got to allow people to get in here. You can go from one spot of the hotel to the other. So this guy couldn't get credentialed, comes in and is just basically sitting out there and doing interviews as he wants to. Apparently he has a podcast, and someone from the SEC came over and said, no, you've got to go. And he raised a stink about that. So they had security escort him down to the lobby and said, you can stay down here. And that's that. And our good friend of the show, Matt Stahl, as he is wont to do with these kind of stories, has got all the quotes. I never thought Matt would get a quote from a Feinbaum caller, but he got one. He referred to us all as podcasters and basement dwellers. So, you know.
The guy that showed up on a Tuesday afternoon.
The Feinbaum caller.
To try to...
That's what he said. That's what he said.
A radio show host.
So that's the big story of the day. Other than that, though, shots. Georgia, obviously going to be one of the favorites to not only win the SEC, but to win the national title. Auburn, a team in search of consistency, a team in search of finding its way out of the wilderness of the last 5 or 6 years. South Carolina, a team trying to find their way back with a coach who is absolutely on the hot seat. And then Vanderbilt trying to figure out, are we a real contender year in, year out in the SEC? Can we be a team that goes to bowl games and is a top 25 team, even now that Diego Pavia is gone? So some really interesting storylines here on day 2.
Without a doubt. We get the first question on the text line. Did Sankey make you think the SEC would actually break away from the NCAA? Or is it just a negotiating tactic? So I only got 11 minutes with him. He gives very long answers, so I didn't get to ask everything that I wanted to ask today, unfortunately. But we didn't cover that part. But I think that his answer in the big room, because he was asked to clarify, hey, hold on. Are you really talking about? He said yes. Kirby Smart today was asked about that. He said, I've been there for a long time. That's what we need to do. Here's what I think is actually happening here. Because I don't think it's just a negotiating tactic, although I am certain that that is part of the equation. We've been talking about this for years. They keep dangling the carrot a little bit. They are working towards the possibility, anyway, of the SEC they're not going to go alone. It would be the SEC. They would bring the Big Ten along and a handful of other programs they think would add value, and they would break away collectively. The SEC will not operate on its own with just 16 teams, ever. But I do think that is a kind of, if we don't get what we want here, we'll go and we'll take the people that want to align with us, because here's the poorly kept secret. Ohio State, Michigan, Notre Dame, Penn State, they want to align with the SEC. They do. They want to butt heads forever. That's what I think is going on. That's what I think they're setting up. It's been a big talking point around here. I do not talk with Greg Sankey about that, though. I tried to keep it as local as I possibly could for just the short time I had him.
And you got the idea. Well, I mean, he gave you a couple of good quotes, a couple of clip-worthy, put them out there on social media quotes. Did you feel like, as much as he can be, as much as he tries to get you with his word salads, did you feel how he was being pretty candid?
He, especially with the Dabo question, you'll hear it. It was a very pointed answer.
Yeah.
And I think, you'll hear it, I think it was a warning shot.
Yeah. So what we've got here, so Marty from Portland asking, so basically they would form a Premier League. Here's the problem with the Premier League, is I watch the Premier League. Mm-hmm. Somebody finishes last in that league every year. Every year there is a team that is not good. There are usually 3 teams that are not good, and they get relegated. Is that, if you're an LSU fan, are you going to put yourself into a league where maybe you go 4-8, maybe you go 3-9, maybe Alabama goes 3-9, maybe Michigan or Ohio State goes 3-9, because somebody in that league is going to go 3-9.
Yep.
And it's just the simple mathematics of it. And That's why I don't think Super Leagues will ever happen, because you got to have
bring in some crap with them.
Yeah, you got to. Well, yeah, then it becomes it's the Super League, but we're keeping the power conferences together so that we can have games we can win.
You know what, Duke, you can come.
Duke,
ACC champion. Duke.
Yeah, exactly. But you've got to have teams that you can beat. Otherwise, you've got 30 teams. You've got the top half of the SEC, the top half of the Big Ten, 2 or 3 out of the ACC, 2 or 3 out of the Big 12, Notre Dame, and what else? Somebody in that group is going 2-10 because that's just the way that it works. It's either somebody's going 2-10 or everybody's going 6-6, and you didn't really accomplish anything.
You know what we've learned?
What have we learned?
Money trumps.
Well, it talks.
All of that.
Yeah.
601-879-4395, the C-Spire text line. You want to be a part of our show, that is how you do it. Coming up today, you'll hear next my conversation with Greg Sankey. In the 4 o'clock hour, you'll hear from Jacob Hester, Jason Caldwell, who covers Auburn for 24/7 Sports. We will have an author on with us who wrote a book that details essentially where the game has gone wrong, what changed, the money side of it. Really interesting conversation. That's coming in the 4 o'clock hour. J.D. Piquel, talking football with him. Peter Burns, I wanted to spend 15 minutes with him talking about the Open, but Hadad made us talk about football. So we will do all that and more with you on this Tuesday afternoon. My conversation with Greg Sankey when we come back. Sports Talk Mississippi, Pearl River Resort Studio on the road in Tampa. We'll be back.
Summer fun continues. Talk Mississippi continues.
Sports Talk Mississippi now with the commissioner of the SEC, Greg Sankey. And as you laid out yesterday, you've had quite the offseason. You've been lobbying Congress a lot. You've done the 9-game conference schedule, the spring meetings, been dealing with all that. Are you tired?
I am, actually. And I was supposed to have been on a couple of weeks. We have a 2-bedroom place on a lake where I grew up. And I don't have any, I didn't get a tan because I was inside on the phone. And that's just part of the job. There's no need for sympathy. I'll add, we did the ABS thing in baseball and have permission from the Rules Committee to potentially implement it next year. We'll see if we get that finalized. There's a lot that goes on, and we have a great staff and great people, but it's been really a nonstop summer so far.
When you got into college athletics a while ago, did you ever think that you'd be spending your days talking to Ted Cruz and Maria Cantwell and spending days on Capitol Hill? Was that ever a thought?
No. In fact, last Tuesday, I grew up outside a little town called Skaneateles, New York. My wife moved there when she was in junior high school. Her birthday was Sunday. I took her to dinner Tuesday. The dinner was interrupted by the university president and 3 members of Congress on the phone. And so we walked afterwards in my hometown, and we were just, we've walked this sidewalk 1,000 times in our life together. And I said, and then John Calipari just called me this morning, and he called me as I was walking. And I said, if you had told me back in the early 80s when we were first dating in 83 that I'd be having phone calls like this, walking this same sidewalk, I would have said, you're just joking, you're making stuff up.
Is the next job a run for Senate yourself? Are you positioning yourself for political office?
No, I wouldn't win where I grew up in upstate New York, and I'm not moving back there. I'll do summers, and then I don't think I have the right sounding accent to win.
Yeah. Well, you can change that, apparently, depending on the audience.
I'm a little bit more genuine than that. It has been an interesting civics lesson in how things work, and maybe how things don't work, too. Yeah. In how you're painted, where influence comes in. We don't make political donations. We're not in, you used the word lobbying. We're in the communication activity. We have a government relations firm, and We're not in the back rooms. There's no cigar smoke. Whenever I go to Capitol Hill, somebody seems to find out or the picture's taken. Just try to have straightforward educational conversations, and was in conversation this morning as work still continues.
So we're statewide in Mississippi, and as you can imagine, there's been a lot of conversation about a particular Week 3 matchup in Oxford with LSU. Are you excited about that game?
Yeah, we'll go with excited. Yeah. No, sure. I think we have to all manage ourselves properly. And there'll be a lot of emotion and energy around that game, which is great for college football, but everybody involved needs to conduct themselves appropriately and with the right spirit. And that's both leading into the game, during the game, and after the game.
So I want to ask on that note, there's been, as you can imagine, a ton of talk this offseason. The main character in it's done some talking himself, including, bragging about the fighting abilities of his own fan base on Twitter. Are you guys stepping in and helping make sure that kind of stuff stops, that the game goes off without a hitch? What is the league's involvement in this game in particular?
We've actually met on several circumstances about game management and expectations, and as we move through this and turn to the season, we'll have some ability to remind ourselves, big picture, this is everybody, about your responsibility for your team. I did that in Destin, behind closed doors with the football coaches. I said, your job is to talk about your team, not everybody else's team. Whether you were there 10 years ago, 10 weeks ago, 10 months ago, whatever it is, your responsibility is to talk about your team. I said the same with our presidents and chancellors and athletics directors in a joint meeting. And one of the challenges of our current environment is, this social media platforms create expectations, and we have to shift our expectation to conduct ourselves as leaders from time to time.
And what does that look like? Because we saw Lane Kiffin make a return to a place that he left within your league back in 2021, and it ultimately didn't go well at the end. How do you learn from how that game went to prevent how this one goes coming up this season?
Well, I'm being asked about it right now. So in the previous iteration, that did not occur. We have some opportunities between now and the start of the season, and it's just not one game. And there'll be a lot of emotion as we have more conference games, 9 conference games, particularly when you get to the end of the season and you're almost in your own tournament. We'll have to set those expectations, and where we or I have to communicate directly, we'll communicate directly. And one of the ways to make sure the focus is on the football game, which is the objective. There are people and personalities around the game. There are players, in the game. We want the focus to be on the game, not on what happens outside the game. We're going to have to remind ourselves of that expectation.
Another thing you had to deal with this offseason, a head coach in a different conference was very animated and specific when calling out Pete Golding and Ole Miss, and the NCAA reportedly has inquired about that. Do you get involved in that? Do you have any thoughts on how that went down, and where are we when it comes to the tampering, not only just in this specific case, but in college football as a whole?
There are a few questions in there. Do I get involved? I do. I have for my now 12th year as commissioner, and since I joined the SEC office in 2002 in various ways. We all live in a glass house, and I'm going to put we all live in a glass house. And I respect that that frustrations boil over from time to time, but the environment we're in, representatives, NIL representatives, agents making phone calls, we're in a very different environment, which puts us in the glass house, and so we all ought to be careful about throwing stones, including me. The tampering issue, if you recall in March, the Big Ten wrote a letter asking the NCAA to put aside the enforcement of tampering, but to move quickly to a new standard. That letter came out on a Tuesday, the week of our men's basketball tournament. On Wednesday, we had Charlie Baker, the NCAA president, with our presidents and chancellors. And our message is, we're not going to be writing a letter at this point, but this circumstance has to change. And a healthy debate among our presidents and chancellors about should we be in that light of writing campaign, what's going to happen. And our expectation leaving was a rather rapid adaptation by the NCAA to recognize the environment that's different. And, that was 4 months ago. So where, in my view, we are with tampering is we have yet collectively for people to define what it is you want in this environment. So 10 years ago, you had people running around as representatives, but not like we do today. That's one. 2, pre-portaling is a phrase that is now part of, I don't know if it's in the dictionary, but it should be. And you're not just going to stop this stuff. The NCAA model, I don't mean this as like the NCAA leadership criticism, but the NCAA model is you get a committee together and they say we need stronger penalties. I don't think that's true. I think we need to define what it is we want, which fundamentally is we don't want coaches calling kids at a different school saying jump in the portal or setting up deals with representatives. So you go in the portal at 6 p.m. on a Friday and 8 a.m. you've got a new place and a scholarship. That means tampering's taking place. Those things should be defined, right? And then when issues occur, I don't think stronger penalties are the answer right away. I think more timely oversight and accountability. And it may be a lesser penalty. It may be just a warning. It may be what's perceived as a slap on the wrist. But do something in an orderly fashion, in a timely fashion. And then if it happens again involving the same individuals, that penalty should be elevated. And then lastly, the young person involved has a responsibility here. I think that's what's lost. That someone who says, yeah, go represent me and stir up a bunch of business in November in a football season, somebody's authorizing that. And there has to be accountability there, too. It shouldn't just all be on an institution. And I don't think we're there yet, which is a bit frustrating. I've described this previously. I have enough going on in my life. I haven't written a white paper on it. But conceptually, I think we all exercise a little bit of care before we point fingers. That's one. And 2, we should define the end game that we want and then work towards that with a level of accountability that's progressive, but involves the individual, both the coach and the student athlete, who are part of this tampering environment.
You got to go. So real quick, there's been a lot of lobbying about players and restrictions, and everybody's for that, generally speaking, getting rules back in place. After what went down at the end of the season with coach movement and all that happening before the season ends, is there any conversation about maybe adding stricter movement rules on coaches or waiting till the season ends like the NFL does, something like that? Is that ever part of the conversation?
Yes, it actually came up in Congress right after the move of Lane from Ole Miss to LSU. I was in D.C. that week talking about a House of Representatives bill, and a number of members of the House said directly to me, we have to regulate this, period. And I said, we're happy to, because our presidents and chancellors said, this is not healthy for any of us. Decisions get made, and do we need our own system? And so we were part of helping to craft some ideas around what could happen at the congressional level. We'll see if that's possible. If it doesn't, it'll be back to a conversation.
From theSeabrook.com.
Sports Talk Mississippi's coverage of SEC Media Days is brought to you in part by Trustmark Bank.
And a big-time hit. Here we go. Is it time to get off work already? What's going on here? Sports Talk Mississippi here with you live at SEC Media Days. Brian Hadad, Michael Borkey. Houston McDavid is the man behind the scenes taking care of all of that. Some of our coverage here at SEC Media Days is brought to you locally by One Source Technology. In Southwest Mississippi, One Source Technology is your source for computer networking, security, and copier and printer needs. One Source IT, that's the number one, .net. And, of course, our friends over at Rayco. Rayco, your printer and copier solutions expert in Corinth, Tupelo, Ripley, and Oxford. Go to RaycoCopiers.com for more info. Michael Borkey had the conversation that you just heard with the commissioner of the SEC, Greg Sankey. I asked you previously if you thought he was pretty candid. I think that shines through a little bit. That I think he gave some real answers to your questions that weren't just necessarily what we'll call commissioner speak.
Especially the Dabo thing. That is the thing that I'm most interested in, because he gave a 4-minute answer to me asking about, okay, where do things stand with Dabo Swinney calling out Pete Golding? But, I mean, his job is to defend the SEC, but not always. Remember, he very publicly went against Alabama's wishes in a Tuscaloosa County court trying to get Charles Bediako to not be eligible.
Yes.
And Dabo Swinney put Pete Golding on blast. And I was expecting a commissioner answer, a political answer. Well, we're not going to comment on ongoing NCAA matters.
Right.
We expect our conference members to blah, 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 blah. And he straight up, he said, we all live in glass houses. No. We all live in the glass house. And then he elaborates on, well, what do you want? What do you want? If you're going to do this, what do you want to happen in return? I was surprised, Hadad, because I was expecting politics, and to me, that comes off as, hey, Clemson, you really don't want to, because nobody knows more non-published information about this than him.
Right.
Because he's involved the second it happens, as he said. So he knows everything. He knows everything that's on file. He knows everything the NCAA has. He knows it all. And for him to know it all when it comes to this situation and then say that struck me a little bit.
Yeah.
That tells me he's telling Clemson, be careful now, because I know everything that you do too. I was surprised that he gave that kind of an answer. That was out of quote-unquote character, out of character for him.
Yeah. But at the same time, he's right, and that's the Pandora's box. And he knows that, and he knows that if one team decides, all right, I'm going to open that box, we're going to have trouble.
He knows what happens, because
right.
LSU would be next, and Auburn, and it
would domino affect it, and it would get to the point it would be unpalatable for the average college football fan. I think that the average college football fan would be like, look,
I don't want this.
There's enough dirty stuff going on in this sport. We don't need this, all right? The fact that our coaches are openly trying to take players, it's not right.
Yeah.
It's not right. So he's got to be a little more defensive about that. He's got to stand up a little harder than he would normally would.
Because you have to. You have to ask about week 3 and all of that. You have to ask, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but you could tell he was kind of annoyed with some of the interviews, the comments that have gone on this offseason. And a couple of times he reiterates, I'm telling the coaches, you only talk about your team. I don't care if you were there 10 months ago or 10
coaches,
years ago.
Or is he telling a coach?
He's telling a coach.
Yeah.
Reminder.
Literally one of those.
Only talk about your team. You could sense he was kind of annoyed with all that.
Literally one of those things where one person acted up, so we all have to be punished.
Pretty much.
Kind of things that you hear about in grade school. But when somebody acts like a grade schooler, that's where you end up.
And it's really not surprising because you can talk about this game and then you can take it too far. When you go into a publication like Vanity Fair and you use the word segregated when talking about the state of Mississippi, then the commissioner needs to come down and put an end to that. That kind of stuff has to stop. Right. You can't have a coach bragging about his fan base's ability to fight ahead of an emotional game like this. So, the timing of the Twitter hiatus paired with his statement today, I wouldn't be surprised if on Thursday you get a very boring Lane. That would not surprise me at all if you get a sit-down or a sit-down's already happened of, hey, you're not going to do this. And I wouldn't be surprised if the same conversations have been had to Ole Miss. Hey, you're not going to do that.
I think you have less of that, though, with Ole Miss.
Yes.
And far be it for me to take up for Ole Miss, but I don't think Golding is seeking out to talk about Lane. I don't think that Trinidad and Kewan and William Eccles are going to be seeking out. They're not going to bring up – I could see Lane Kiffin bringing up Ole Miss unprompted.
And he will get asked about it 100 times.
Right, he will, but he'll also find a ways to work it in, whereas those guys I don't think they will. They are willing to talk about their team and their season that's coming up.
They will. And somebody says, just ran out of time to ask about the 9-game conference schedule. I had, seriously, 10 additional questions / prompts that I wanted to get to. I had 10 more, and just they limit his time. But I mean, I got 5 minutes longer than most people because I kind of just was ignoring the time to wrap it up.
Yes, we figured this out. So when you're dealing with the ESPN people or the bigger SEC people, they have handlers with them, and the handlers will let you know, hey, we got to get them out of here. They'll start giving you the wrap up. So, and Houston McDavid noticed this the other day. We lock in on the guest. We're not looking over here. I'm not looking at the handler. She can be doing jumping jacks for all I care. I'm not looking over there. And Houston is doing the same. Houston is locked into the screen. He's producing the segments. He's doing all that. We aren't looking at you. We're getting our interview in. When we're out of questions, we'll be fine. He can stay here 3 more minutes. It won't. Society, as we know it, will not spin off its axis if Greg Sankey sits here for 10 minutes versus 8.
I did. One of them, though, something that happened on the big podium yesterday, he got a lot of officiating questions. Yeah. And I think the people in the room did not appreciate the answers. And he's right when he says it's a really difficult job. They do a good job considering how much the game has changed and how much is on their plate. Speaking of that, there are some changes that we'll get to here in a second. But nobody asked about the use of technology, and I had that written down. I wish I had time. If there's a way that I can get just another second with him, just a quick, hey, the World Cup just happened. And although the application of VAR is something that frustrates soccer fans, you know instantly, the second the ball is kicked, exactly where the ear and the fingers of a player are on the field the exact moment the ball is kicked. Why are we still using chains to determine whether or not a guy got a first down and somebody's, naked eye just, I think he got tackled here. Here's where the ball is spotted. You guys go.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask about that. That was on my list. We just did not have time. I figured the local stuff was more important than that.
Yeah.
But I am going to try to get him for a second and say, hey, Commissioner, are you guys exploring the same technology that VAR has or that tennis has? Because you're doing it in baseball. Mm-hmm. When does that come to football?
You got to think it's close. I mean, this sport makes so much money. It really is something that, and we've talked about it before, that in this day and age that we've still got a couple of retirees on the sideline holding up chains when we could, other sports can tap their helmet and get a computer image of where a baseball was thrown within a half inch of a specific zone. It's weird that football lags behind in terms of replay and officiating technology. Mm-hmm.
He got asked, too, about, should the officials be made available? And that was a hard no. They do it in the NFL, although it's a pool reporter, right, that gets to ask one question, basically. I maintain, look, we have referees that listen to this show. I know that because I was walking into the high school state championship game and a couple stopped me. And they were particularly mad at you about your comments on officiating and how hard it is. And look, we know it's a very difficult job. We know it is. We're asking for 2 things. The increased use of technology to make the job easier for you.
Yeah.
And after a game, if a decision was made that impacted the result of the game, you should have the same press obligations that the quarterback who is 20 years old has. That's all we're asking.
It's completely fair.
We're not asking you to be perfect.
So somebody stopped you because they were mad at me.
Yes.
That's funny.
Yeah, they're like, hey, you guys don't understand how difficult officiating is. And I said, sir, but we do.
We do understand.
We want you to get more help.
Yeah.
And if a ball hits a kick returner's fingertip and everybody sees it on replay and everybody knows it is, and an official tells a head coach, don't bother because you're not going to get the call that you want.
Right.
That person should have to sit in front of cameras just like the quarterback does.
Exactly.
Speaking of, 2 new rule changes coming to the SEC this year they announced this morning. One of them I don't understand at all. The other one, great. We'll tell you about that. Sports Talk Mississippi when we come back live from SEC Media Days in Tampa. Don't go anywhere.
summer fun continues. Sports Talk Mississippi's coverage of SEC Media Days is brought to you in part by Cannon Motor Company.
Welcome back, Sports Talk Mississippi. Borkey, Hadad, East in the studio. Houston keeping us all alive here. So glad that you guys are with us. So we mentioned a second ago that there are a couple of new rule changes coming to the SEC as they announced this morning. I don't understand this at all. Offensive pass interference, OPI, 10 yards. Why?
So, hold on. Offensive pass interference is automatically a 10-yard penalty.
Is now...
What was it, a 15?
I believe so.
Here's what I would say to that.
But what's the point? Why?
Here's what I would say to that. Like, the average offensive pass interference, like most times, is in the red zone anyway. So, I don't know.
But why?
I don't understand why there was a desire to move it. I don't understand why. Maybe it's some of the feedback from the coaches. But, I don't know. That's a weird rule to change, but it's not a change that when I hear it, I just go, wait, what the heck are they doing? At least, whatever. It's how many OPIs are called in an average game? One?
Why are we making it even more difficult on defenses? I know, chick stick the long ball. We love offense, whatever. But do you know how hard it is to play defense now? You can't tackle up high. You can't tackle down low. You can't do this. You can't do that. The running back can lower his head, put the crown of his helmet right in your chest. But if you do the same thing, you're out of the game. Well, maybe not. Hold on. More on that in a second. But we're making it harder and harder and harder to play defense. Why? It's already hard enough.
Because that's what sells tickets. It's what gets people
Football
to watch
sells tickets. I mean, it's supposed to.
I get that, but would you rather watch a 10-3 game or a 45-42 game? As simple as that. It really is. It really is. Something goes back to something I've said a number of times on the show. At the end of the day, this is an entertainment product.
But we're already getting the explosive games now.
Well, we're going to get more of them now. I don't think that. Again, how many OPIs are? I'd love to know the numbers on this. It can't be a lot. It can't be a lot. Offensive pass interference is not something that gets called a whole ton.
But when you do it, it should be penal. Mm-hmm. But still, there's the first one. Doesn't make sense to me. This one is good. So, second half targeting for a first-time offender. If you commit a targeting foul that is confirmed in the second half of a game, you will still be kicked out of said game. Even if you put your helmet on a player's butt, like Florida defensive back did against Texas A&M. He got targeting, and his head was on the rear end of the guy who was tackling. It was still targeting. So you still get kicked out of the game. However, you will not serve a suspension if it is your first targeting offense of the season. No suspension.
So you can get out of your first targeting.
You can get away with your first targeting, except for you're still getting kicked out of the game.
You're kicked out of the game, but you're not kicked out of the next game.
Second offense is when the old rule comes into place. If you get, it's still adjusted. So your second targeting, you are kicked out of the game because it's hard to keep up with who has how many targetings. So you're out of the game.
Right.
You are disqualified for the first half of the next game regardless of when the targeting occurred. So your second offense, if you commit targeting in the first quarter,
first play of the game,
first half of the next game, you're out.
Okay. So you're out a game and a half.
Essentially.
Okay.
And the third or more targeting, you are kicked out of the game.
Yes.
And a one-game suspension every time.
So every time.
So third and beyond, you are suspended for the entire next game. And that doesn't end. After your suspension, guess what? If you commit targeting again, you're missing the next game regardless.
Wow. Okay. I don't mind it.
I do like it. I like that they are trying to, at least, even though there are some hits where players get kicked out of games, and they just simply should not get kicked out of a game.
Right. I do. Yeah. There still needs to be a replay, or I don't know if replay, or a what's what I'm looking for here? Just a human element of, yes, he targeted him. He hit him head to head, but the receiver moved at the last possible second.
Receivers catch balls and then
the guy could not avoid the hit.
Yes.
Let's, 15-yard unnecessary roughness, but he can stay in the game. Targeting should have the word targeting to me implies there should be some intent. He was trying to knock him out of the game. That's when you want to throw that flag. Yeah. But if,
baby steps at least.
The one that I always think of is the 2023 Egg Bowl where Dart slides and the state defender is trying to get to him, and then he hits him in the head. And it was a huge play. Like, if State gets a stop there, I don't know how that game might have been different, but instead Ole Miss automatic first down. Yeah. They score on, the next play. You got to have some intent in there. So, that's those are good rule changes. As rule changes go, I am for those.
After the news, we will have a busy 4 o'clock hour. Jacob Hester, you guys remember him. He informed us earlier his first touchdown was in Starkville, actually. So we'll talk to him. We'll talk to Jason Caldwell, who covers Auburn, both Ole Miss and State on the schedule, and Southern Miss on the schedule for Auburn this year. You'll hear from somebody who wrote a fascinating book about college football. All that coming your way after the news in hour number 2. Sports Talk Mississippi from SEC Media Days in Tampa. Stick with us.
Your home.
I like this kind of party.
Sports Talk Mississippi's coverage of SEC Media Days is presented by Pearl River Resort.
Sports Talk Mississippi here live at SEC Media Days. Our coverage brought to you by Mississippi Farm Bureau Insurance Company. Local agents and adjusters, great rates, fast, fair claims. Go to msfbins.com to find a local agent near you. Speaking of fast and fair, Jacob Hester joins us, Sirius XM Radio, ESPN 104.5. What?
Fast?
Fast enough.
I was like a 4-5 guy.
If you get into the end zone,
fast.
You get into the end zone, you're fast enough.
I appreciate it, though.
There you go. Take a compliment.
I appreciate it. Dude, I did run under a 5 flat. Last week.
Nice.
So
that's nice.
So my kids, 16 and 14, they're playing high school football, and they both ran under 5 flat. They're like, it's faster than you now, Dad. I was like, make no mistake about it. I'll rip this hamstring off the bone to run a 4.9 right now.
Do it.
I ran a 4.87.
There you go.
Are you coaching?
So I coach so I have 5 kids. 4 boys and baby girl. I coach them all the way until they get to middle school, and then I let the team take them over. The school take them over.
That would be the most protected girl growing up in the history of.
They won't even get to me. It won't get to me.
You're the last line of defense.
I'm the last line. So my oldest son, I'm gonna brag on him a little bit. He is 6'2", 265, and he's 16, going to be a junior. He's playing nose guard at University Lab School, and his baby sister might be his favorite person in the world, so I will never have to worry about.
That's good news. That's good insurance to have.
Yeah, it is very good insurance to have, and so good luck. Good luck getting a day to any of that situation.
Yeah, no shot.
What about good luck for LSU this year? What are the Tigers going to be in year one under Lane Kiffin? We talked last week about this, and you said they have to be the most improved team in the conference.
They have to be. They have to win. Look, everybody knows that because. One, that's what LSU is always going to be. The expectation is going to be through the roof, and I love it. I love the fact that that's what it is because it should be. You have too many advantages for it not to be. And so them coming in, all the money they've spent on coaching staff, on players, they got to be successful. And, what is success? I don't think it has to be a national championship or bust. That's ludicrous to say that with some of the teams across the country, but they got to be in the playoff. They got to be in the playoff. That has to be the expectation. And I think if you go 9-3 and you've got some really quality wins, let's say you beat Ole Miss and you beat Texas, maybe that's good enough comparing that to how bad LSU was a year ago. But look, everybody in that building knows the expectations. They've got to be the most improved team. It was bad watching tape last year offensively. So Matt Flynn and I, we do our show and we watch tape on it and we go through the offense. It was as poor of an offense as you'll see scheme-wise. They were not diverse in the run game. All of their throws were behind the line of scrimmage or at the line of scrimmage. I always joke, and Hadad heard me say this before, there was like police tape in the middle of the football field, and they thought if you actually crossed it that you'd get arrested. The middle of the football field in college is really big, and they just did not attack it at all. So I think just really off schematics alone, they're going to be a better football team. Now, they got a tough schedule, just like every team here has a tough schedule. So what can they do? Can they get to the promised land? I know there's a lot of people in Baton Rouge that say they have to get to the college football playoff.
Should we read into Lane's caution that every press conference, it might not happen this year, or he's doing a lot of the tamping down of expectations. Should we read into that?
I don't know. I mean, he can say it, but it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't. I mean, we know, everybody knows, like what we just talked about, what the expectation is. Now, is having a completely new roster, like, do you ever know how that's going to gel together? You don't. Sometimes it's great, and sometimes it doesn't work out. LSU went through that last year. LSU last year brought in a lot of new players. Everybody was excited about those new players. It didn't work out. They were a bad football team a year ago. Now, I will say Lane having experience bringing in that many people through the portal, that's probably something that him and that offensive staff, at least they're used to that. So I do think that's a good thing for LSU. Look, he can do it. He can sit there and say that, hey, we got a lot of new here, and people might hear it, but they're not going to listen to it. So, no, I mean, you got to be successful this year. I don't know what the bare minimum is for people to be happy. Probably, like I said, 9-3. You beat Texas, you beat Ole Miss, something like that. That's like the bare minimum, though. They've got to be a team that is in the conversation in November for an SEC championship.
I say this all the time. It's easy to be rational when you haven't lost a game yet. Like with Clemson and the Dabo thing and calling out Pete Golding. Clemson fans love that. Until you go to Baton Rouge and get beat by 4 touchdowns, then they're going to say, well, what the hell? Why didn't you tamper? You should have done that too. It's easy to, 9-3 will be fine until the third loss happens.
It's a great point that you make, and I actually talked about this today because Clemson, just to use them for an example, they don't do the things that everybody else is doing. They don't bring in a lot of new players. And if you're not winning, people get mad at that. Yeah. Now, you look at Georgia's roster, Georgia's going to have probably 1 new guy in the portal on offense starter, maybe 2 on defense. The difference is they win. Yeah. They're Georgia. They still play for championships. So for them, their fans aren't going to say anything about the portal and not adding players because they keep winning. If you're losing, then the conversation's going to change. So winning cures everything. Losing heightens everything. And that's why a situation like that's a perfect example because Georgia and Clemson kind of do it the same way, but Georgia's still Georgia.
So if LSU's the most improved team, who's the team that goes the other way? Somebody that was good in the conference last year you could see taking a step back.
So I know a lot of people are going to say maybe Oklahoma in this conversation. I don't think that at all. I think Oklahoma's defense is going to be really, really good. I think John Mateer with an actual healthy thumb. Like, think about how good he was in like the conversation about him going into the year. Like, we had he was Heisman guy for a early portion of the season, and he hurts his thumb. So I actually don't think it's going to be them. Like, the easy answer is probably going to be Vanderbilt. Now, I still think Vanderbilt and Clark and what they're doing is really good. I think they're on a path for success. That program is in better shape than it's ever been before. But can they win 10 games? There's no Diego Pavia. We all know that. There's no Eli Stowers. So, they probably take a step back, but I don't think it's a huge leap. And I actually think the teams that were good a year ago, Ole Miss, Georgia, Texas, I still think those teams are going to be good football teams. I'm curious with Ole Miss because just like LSU's going to have new, Ole Miss is going to have new. Yeah. Ole Miss is not going to have players that they had. They're going to have new players in. Some of that staff has been through that before. I'm intrigued with Ole Miss because I still think with Trinidad Chambliss, Kejuan Lacey, you're going to be good. I don't think they take a step back, but can they take a step forward is more the question with Ole Miss.
I think we just had a really nice metaphor about somebody I want to ask you about. Gunnar Stockton trying to walk in.
It was so good. I saw it too.
And he didn't have his credential on, and the security guy was like, you need to show
That's
me
our guy there.
So
one of the security guys is from Mississippi. He came over and talked to us for a few minutes.
What part of Mississippi?
He's from Greenwood.
Does that make him your guy or your guy?
More my guy.
Okay.
His son played football at State. So
okay.
Definitely my guy.
But that's a great metaphor because
really
people forget about Gunnar Stockton, and he's kind of a dog.
Yeah. So there's 95% 5% of the people that are here player-wise could have walked right through there and would not have gotten stopped because, oh, yeah, that guy plays SEC football. Gunner, they were like, hey, we need some credentials here, buddy. There's no way you're selling insurance somewhere in the Southeast right now. You're not playing quarterback for Georgia.
A highly successful car dealership right now.
No doubt about it. The guy drives, by the way, like an 86 Chevy Silverado, by the way. It's like his baby, by the way, Gunner Stockton. It's funny, we were talking about that earlier today, and this isn't a slight at him, so I don't want to sound like it. In an interview, if you had Gunner Stockton, he would say 4 words every answer. Mm-hmm. There would be nothing dynamic. There would be nothing news-breaking. It would just be – he's from a town of like 480 people. That's just who he is. And I started to ask the question. I was like, how can he galvanize the team like he does, being as quiet as he is? I don't know if y'all remember. I'm sure you do. When Carson Beck went down in the SEC championship game, that sideline was fired up for Gunner Stockton to go into that game. They were waving towels. I had the Sugar Bowl the next game when they played Notre Dame, and I would say Gunner Stockton, and all you'd see was teeth from his teammates. They couldn't wait to talk about Gunner Stockton. I'm like, how in the hell does this guy galvanize his team? And he says 4 words. I don't know how he does it, but he does it. I asked a Georgia player, I asked kind of the same question. He goes, we would die for him. That was his quote. He said, we would die for him.
That's good when it's your quarterback.
Yeah, and I said, it feels like y'all would follow that guy into the gates of hell. He said, this is his quote, he said, he would push us out of the way because he would be sprinting towards the gates. Oh. I was like, you know what? I get it now.
Heck yeah.
I understand it now. He doesn't have to do it with words. He does it with how he goes about his everyday life. And you're right. He got denied entrance into the entrance because he doesn't look like. But I'll be damned if he was my quarterback. I don't even know the guy. Just hearing the stories, I'd follow that guy. And so that's what Georgia has. To kind of go back to Georgia, they've got guys like that. It's a redshirt senior. When's the last time we talked about a redshirt senior in the SEC?
That's not a transfer.
That's not a transfer.
Yeah.
He's a Georgia guy. So that's why they're successful. That's why Kirby's Kirby, Georgia's Georgia, and you saw a great example of it there.
Give me your 60-second scouting report of Kamario Taylor.
Super athletic, super dynamic. He can do things. His ceiling is higher. And I love Blake Shapen. You and I talked about this the other day. I think Blake's a good quarterback. He can do things that Blake can't do. And it's not to besmirch Blake. It's just his athletic ability is that. And I kind of like a chaotic quarterback for Levy. I like the fact that he's going to be able to, even if a play's not designed to work out that way, it can work out. And I think they were missing that a year, really in recent memory. I mean, and we could talk about a lot of teams, Garrett Nussmeier for LSU. Garrett's a pocket passer. If the play was not what it was drawn up to be, he wasn't going to really create on his own. You got a quarterback now that can create on his own. So I'm excited to see what that looks like. You lose some speed at receiver, obviously maybe the fastest guy in college football. But with Jeff Lebby, obviously we know he wants to run the football. That's always a misconception of that offense. They want to run the football first. That is who they are. They're going to do that. But now you do it with the dynamic of a quarterback that they can pull that football and he can go around the other edge and he can go 75 in the blink of an eye. So I think it gives you more an explosive nature on offense that a pocket passer, and Blake was athletic, but he certainly wasn't this.
Jacob Hester, SiriusXM, ESPN 104.5. Just all around good guy. Thanks, man.
Oh, appreciate you. Always a pleasure.
Back on SEC Media Days after this.
For a flipping good time. Sports Talk Mississippi's coverage of SEC Media Days is brought to you in part by Mississippi Farm Bureau Insurance Company.
Oh, one-handed catch.
Ford Lincoln dealers, Cannon Ford Lincoln of Starkville, Cleveland, and Pascagoula. Remember, nobody beats a Cannon deal. Nobody. CannonMotorCompany.com. Jason Caldwell joins us. Auburn 24/7. The Tigers back on the schedule for both the Rebels and the Bulldogs this year. And we were just talking to J.D. Piquel a minute ago about Auburn. And I said that's a program that's looking for consistency.
Yeah.
They're a program that, they since Gus Malzahn has left, with Harsin and then Hugh Freeze. Now you're bringing Alex Golich, who's a coach I really, really like.
Yeah.
But I wonder what's year one look like at Auburn for them.
Yeah, they've been consistent. It's been consistently about 5-7. That's been it.
That's large.
That is consistent.
But that's it. But I looked at Mississippi State last year, and looked at Arkansas last year, and looked at Auburn, and I went, how many of those games were less than 7 points for all of them? Mm-hmm. I mean, Auburn had 6 of them 7 points or less, and the 7th one was Georgia, where you should have been up 21-0 at the half. You lost all 7 of them. And can you find a way to win 3 more of those games this year? And you look up and you go, 8-4 would be awesome. That'd be incredible. That's this league, though. I think you look at the league and you go, after about 5 or 6, you go from there to about 15. You go, man, it's a toss-up for all those games. So in year one, listen, we've heard Alex Golish a bunch, and people here got to hear him today, but he is not going to fall into the trap of putting a number on it. He just said, look, build an identity. And I've been saying it for a while. It felt like you started on second base, because we always use baseball terms sometimes. But look, because you bring in head coach, offensive coordinator, O-line coach, wide receiver coach, quarterback, center, some wide receivers, you're able to implement a system and the understanding of what you want as a program from day one. And it's where we're used to thinking about that, going, new coaches means you got to get these guys on board with how you want to do things, all that. We just saw it in Indiana, and I'm not saying they're going to be Indiana, but they just went and said, we're going to plug a bunch of guys in that know what we want, and then we're going to build around those guys. And I think that's what you hope to do in this era, and that's what I think they're looking for.
Yeah, we talk a lot this offseason about player retention. Ball at Florida, Kejuan Lacey at Ole Miss. Yep. That's a big deal. Auburn had one of the biggest retentions of the offseason, but as defensive coordinator with DJ Durkin. He was spectacular last year. I assume after Hugh Freeze got fired, he had a ton of opportunities to go somewhere else, but did not.
Yeah, no, he was one of the guys involved in Auburn's search as well. I think he's decided, hey, I want to stay here. His family likes Auburn. And look, because of that, you were able to keep DJ Durkin, and you got Xavier Atkins, and you got a really good linebacker core. You got a bunch of safeties back that played a lot of football. So defensively, you're plugging in just like another year. It didn't feel like you had a coaching change like in normal terms where you got, we got to go replace everybody on this team. You got a bunch of guys back on defense to play a lot of football. Now, you lost a few guys here or there. They lost some starters. They, lost 2 corners and lost a couple of guys on the defensive front. But you're able to plug in some guys. They played a bunch of freshmen last year. When you go, 3 true defensive linemen, a pass rusher, 2 linebackers, a couple of corners, and a couple of safeties. And you're like, all those guys now are back. And in this day and age, you don't normally have that many sophomores that have experience. And so I think defensively, they got a chance to be pretty good again. And that should be pretty comforting for this team.
On that note, defensively, Auburn loses Jay Crawford to Ole Miss. What can an Ole Miss fan expect out of that defensive back?
Yeah, Jay is a guy that extremely athletic, first of all. He is a guy that, watched him the first time play at Parkview, and he's a guy that's really athletic, could really run, and he's developed physically. And that's what you have to do in this league is to be able to match the physical tools with the speed that you have. Jay has all those things. And so I think when you look at Jay Crawford, very quiet. He's not a guy that does a whole lot of talking, does those things. He just plays football. And so been one of my favorite guys now for probably the last 3 or 4 years in recruiting into his time at Auburn.
When you talk about athleticism and physicality, Byron Brown, the quarterback, certainly has those in spades and was very productive at South Florida. Unfortunately, has been the victim of some highlight videos this offseason where it doesn't look like he knows how to throw a football. Yeah. I know that he does know how to throw a football. How good can he be for Auburn this year?
Yeah, I've tried to tell people, I was like, it has a Bernie Kosar look to it a little bit because it's 3/4 or less a little bit. Mm-hmm. But what you have what I think, if you're going like best case scenario, I think about 2013 Gus Malzahn with Nick Marshall. I think they're going to tempo. I think the quarterback's going to run it, and except this quarterback weighs 230 pounds, and so you're not going to be a 1,000-yard rusher in this league like Cam was. But I think if you're a guy that could be a 600-700-yard rusher, and with Jeremiah Cobb and with the things you're doing, then I think you're going to give yourself some opportunities to throw the football in one-on-one situations. And so then I think you start talking about stretching the field down the field and doing some of those things. But, yeah, look, the guy led the nation in total offense last year with, the same throwing motion. It's still the same guy. Now, It's not the SEC, but you don't have to lead the nation in total offense. But just be better and do the things you're doing. And can you finish in the red zone? That's probably job number one. And I think because of his ability to run the football in those situations, that's something that can be really beneficial.
This feels like an Auburn team that, and I think when I think about the Auburn fan base, they're starving for a winner, right? Because, living in this state the past few years with Ole Miss and the success they have, it's the same thing that Auburn has gone through with Alabama
for 20 years,
for quite some time. For quite some time. how much patience are they going to have with this guy? If year one is a 6-6 year, but they look like a better team, is that going to be good enough?
I think so. Yeah, you're right. I mean, like, everybody throws Indiana, and I use them already in this thing, but you're just not going to do that. But Auburn has done it in the past. I mean, Auburn went, 2012, the end of the 2012 season was the worst Auburn football team of my lifetime, without question.
Yeah.
They weren't competitive at the end of the year. They played for a national championship the next year, but they won a bunch of close games. You had the kick six at the end of a game. You have the prayer of Jordan Hare. You have to have
those game had a crazy.
You have to have some of those things go your way to turn a good season into a special season. But I think you look at the end of the year and you go like, man, they're competitive. They go out and win. If you win some of those games, you get to 6-6, 7-5. I think people would go, okay, that's a step in the right direction. And everybody. The problem is that fans are fans for a reason. And you go, well, you spent all this money on this roster. Well, so is everybody else. Everybody that's walked through these doors has spent money on a roster. And because of that, there's going to be a bunch of close games, and somebody has to lose those in the end. And can you inch your way? You'd love to take a big leap, but if you're inching, I think you're okay.
This just hit me, Hadad. We are going to do some research on this. The last time one team has played not just Ole Miss and State in the same season, Southern Miss is also on the Auburn schedule
That's a good point.
this year as well, so they will get...
I know in 2016 Kentucky played Southern Miss, but I don't know if Kentucky played Ole Miss that year.
We'll have to go look through that.
I think they did.
I mean,
I'll have to look.
And probably when Auburn played Southern Miss regularly, Ole Miss wasn't on the schedule. Now, Auburn played Mississippi State a long time. Didn't play Ole Miss as much until 92 when you added teams and it became more of a regular situation. So, the Brett Favre years where Auburn played Ole Miss or Reggie Collier years when Auburn played Southern Miss, they were playing Mississippi State and John Bond, but weren't really playing Ole Miss as much. So, it's been a while probably since all three together.
You just said a lot of names that just piquing people's, John Bond.
No,
Miss State, Brett Favre.
I have so this
he
is
might text me.
This is 28 years. Who?
John Bond.
He listens to us every day.
I see Brett Favre a lot because he comes to Auburn and does some things, so I get to see him a couple of times as well. But 28 years from me doing this, but I grew up, following Auburn football like all of us did, and so I remember, 1982, Bo's freshman year. One of the toughest games they had early in the season was Reggie Collier. Had a really good wide receiver, Lewis Lips, maybe.
I know.
So all those things, and obviously a lot of Mississippi State, and Ole Miss time throughout the year. So the history part of that. Hey, don't ask me 2 years ago, but I'm pretty good in 1985 though.
So Borkey asked you about a player going from Auburn to Ole Miss. Let's ask one who went from Ole Miss to Auburn, and Deshaun Womack. What do the Tigers want to get out of him this year?
Yeah, I mean, look, the potential is there. You look at him and you go, that's a guy that absolutely could go and
when he gets off the bus, you're like, oh,
that's it. And
who's that guy?
Because when he walked through the door. The first time I saw him in a transfer, I remember Auburn, talked to him in the recruiting process back. But he walked through the door and went, okay, they just lost Keldrick Falk. That's pretty close to a Keldrick Falk looking kind of guy. Can you get a guy that can set the edge and give you some pass rush? They got a young kid in Jared Smith who's 6'6", 270 and looks like he's, still 225. But he's just turned 18 years old. Can he show him what it takes at this level? And, you don't have to be 15 sack guy, but if you can get to 7 or 8, that'd be really important for this defense.
Just about 60 seconds to go. When we talk, I was talking to JD earlier, and I said, when State plays Auburn with Golish and Levy calling plays, we might get out of there about 90 minutes.
Or it could be 900 minutes.
It could go, if you're
not getting first downs, yes.
The passes fall. I don't know how much of Camario Taylor you've seen, but I talked to Gene Chizik yesterday. I was like, they're going to make Cam Newton comparisons to this guy. What do you think of him?
Yeah, no, I love him. Obviously, because I do a lot of recruiting side of things too, so I remember him as a prospect.
Yeah.
And then watching them, especially at the end of the year last year, you look at the things he's able to do, and you're right. And I hate to do it because he doesn't deserve that because we've seen it probably 10 times since 2010. We've seen a guy that go, that's the next Cam Newton.
Right.
There's not one of those guys.
No.
Camario, to me, when you look at him, looks more like Lamar Jackson, bigger version. He's not as fast.
Right.
But it's a whippier arm. Cam had a strong arm, but Camario's arm looks like a little bit longer. Cam had that short throwing motion, and Cam was a bulldozer. Camario feels more like a guy that's going to make you juke and do some things. So, no, I think I thought they're one of my surprise teams this year.
Jason Caldwell, Auburn 24/7, man. Really appreciate it. We'll talk to you during the season.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Back in just a minute here on SEC Media Days.
From the Seabrook.
Sports Talk Mississippi's coverage of SEC Media Days is brought to you in part by Trustmark Bank.
And a big-time hit.
Sports Talk Mississippi from SEC Media Days in Tampa. We are joined now by an author right here. Where did our game go? What's the movie? Look How They Massacred My Boy?
What's the movie?
I've never seen it.
The Godfather.
I've never seen The Godfather.
Neither have I. That makes two of us.
Yeah, I've never seen The Godfather.
I might leave.
What year did The Godfather come out?
It doesn't matter. It's a classic.
It doesn't matter.
This guy.
You're going to be walking off set now.
Nick Douglas joins us.
Is his name?
Oh my gosh!
I mean, this is going to be fascinating, and I can't wait to read it because there's so much conversation now about NIL's ruined college football and stuff like that. Massive sweeping changes started happening long before there was any court case about player payment, and you cover it all.
Well, yes, and what we wanted to do was dive into the structure of how the game was set up in a lot of those courtrooms, going back to the 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s, the initial broadcast rights deals, because we keep hearing these terms, media rights. We're not talking about the things flying around in the sky. Yeah. We're talking about the true essence of our game, conference realignment. How were those the loopholes that could be poked? We have to go back to when those deals were formed initially and conceptualized, which is some even north of 100 years ago, to understand exactly why the game has gone the direction it has and exactly how we got to that point. So
it's such a funny thing to me in that it's so different now the way college football was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And yeah, for an old guy like me, I might look at it and go, I don't like some of the changes. But there's no arguing that the product on the field is better than it's ever been. Correct. And that's been a fascinating thing. Normally when there's big change, the end product suffers. It has not been the case for college football.
That's right. And we really are. The essence of our story is just to lay it all out. Because there's positive, there's negative, and there's things that are neutral. I mean, Alabama fans probably loved coming into every SEC Media Day and just having it be pretty uneventful, consistent 10, 11 wins. Most probably predicting 12 wins. And now, I mean, you look at most of these surveys, I'm intrigued to see if they're even atop the conference in the top 5. I mean,
they probably won't be.
Top 5 is probably where but it's 5th.
They're on the bubble.
It's 5th. It's 4th. It's not. If you say top 5, they're not 1 or 2.
Yeah,
absolutely not.
And when we talk about this game, this book you've written, what was something that you learned that surprised you?
I think when you look at the lens of the Pac-12 falling apart, and when you see just how premeditated that was not something that, erupted one day and it shocked everybody. People knew that was happening. They knew Texas and Oklahoma going to the SEC would trigger off a series of events. And so covering in the Pac-12, being at the last Pac-12 championship, being at the national title with Washington, it was the first moment that I've ever seen in sports where everyone knew a run was coming to an end. And there was a championship run that was being completed. It was the end of a 109-year era. And the fact that so many people knew that was happening and so many people were behind that happening, I had never seen anything like it. And we scoured all kinds of different record books, archives, you name it. There was nothing that was quite like the fall of the Pac-12.
And it's crazy, too, because, like you said, I mean, we talked about it here years before it happened. The Pac-12, this is going to cost them leadership, all that stuff. But the Pac-12 dissolving has been, even though the product on the field, I agree, is great, but has been such a net negative on college football with Cal playing conference games at Syracuse. And like that conference, the ACC doesn't make sense anymore. The Big Ten doesn't make sense anymore. They used to all be geographical, and all the states were touching each other, and it all made sense. The dissolving of the Pac-12 created conferences that don't make any sense.
And it's unfortunate that that's where money has brought our game, because there's a lot of hubris, there's a lot of greed. And what killed the Pac-12, not to give away too much of the story, but this is an element to it, but you see it across companies, you see it in the business world. Bad leadership consistently will defeat anybody.
Including the NCAA soon.
Bingo. Sure. Absolutely. That's a great example. And it happened with the Pac-12. It's happened with multiple companies who go into bankruptcy. If you retain the same management that put you in bankruptcy, then what do you think is going to happen?
What's the definition of insanity?
Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Yes, sir.
So we learned so much about the future from the past. If you wrote this book 5 years from now, what do you think would be different?
Ooh. Look at you.
Everything.
I thought you didn't care about this stuff. The business of college football.
I am a professional.
I mean, I think you would take, let's see, how many pages did we end up making this thing? Take about 130 pages of this. Mm-hmm. You'd have to condense this to about 30 pages.
Wow.
And the next 100 pages,
would be what?
Potentially 150 pages, would uncover the fallout of the House settlement and the fallout of rapidly increasing contracts and things like NIL help coming into play for coaches' contracts. The new wave of coaches in the SEC, the impact that all has. I mean, you'd have to dive into so much more. We can't predict what's going to happen in 2028 and 29 and 2030. And then you look at different rights contracts expiring. We saw what happened as waves of realignment over time have gotten larger and larger. There's no telling what the next wave of realignment might look like.
I know what certain schools want it to look like,
yes,
but it may not go down that way. You mentioned coaches' contracts. I have this theory that the wave of NIL and the way that it's gone down would not have happened had there not been the first mega buyouts for head coaches. That once coaches started getting, back at the time it was huge, $15 million, $20, $30 million to go away, then people involved started thinking, wait a minute, why aren't the players – hold on, your coaches are getting this to go away. We need to take stuff like this to court so the players can make money too.
And the real awakening of the masses, including the players, including personnel, including staff, took place during COVID. When attendance was paused, revenue was down, no one had any idea, and we get into that very early in the book, the true role that COVID played in fast-tracking everything to where we see the NIL lawsuits come about, where we see that get enacted, and then ultimately when everybody started thinking, well, wait a second, if we're going to fix this issue, we need to fix this issue as well. We need to fix this issue as well. And then now we have just a rapidly evolving landscape. I mean, this information gets dated very, very quickly. And so we knew when we were at somewhat of a stopping point with the passing of the House settlement, the reconstitution of the Pac-12, that staying together. Once we had all of that, we were like, okay, let's publish this now because we could easily need to make a part 2 in the next 5 years.
I don't feel like change is going to come in a way that goes backwards. I don't feel like we're ever going to see a day where there isn't NIL, where you can only transfer once. I think that's not going to happen. What is a reasonable change that the old men who shake their fist at the sky like me would look at and go, okay, college football is back on a right track?
I think the first change you would see and the most reasonable expectation would be the return to geographic rivalries.
Wouldn't that be great if that happened again?
Yes. Well, and we talk about it, it goes deeper with the playoff, right? We're trying to figure out strength of schedule. You have conferences where not everybody's playing each other, where there might be 5 or 6 teams in your own conference that you don't play in a given season.
You know this. The ACC has an imbalanced schedule where some teams play 9 games, some teams play 8.
Yeah,
I mean, that's how
they're gonna pick their winner on vibes, more or less. So that is an outstanding start. I don't ever see, you say, where did our game go? And the question becomes, can we get our game back? Again, I don't think we've lost the game itself.
Correct. The game inside the white, to your point earlier.
It's kind of like sausage, right? I don't care how it's made. I just want to, I don't care how it's made. Same with football. I don't care what happens. When the ball gets kicked off, I'm watching football games.
Exactly.
Can we get to a point, though, where you feel like the average fan is happy with the way college football operates?
I don't think anytime soon.
Okay.
Because the wave of changes that need to take place, and everyone, in every wave of change, everybody thought, okay, well, 9 conference games might make sense. Depends on how we look at the playoff. Depends on if we expand the playoff. Then we go to 9 conference games. Everybody's up in arms. Then we want a more competitive non-conference schedule. Okay, so then you look at Texas last year. They really regret playing Ohio State in week 1.
And then you look at the last 3 national champions. None of them played a Power 4 opponent. Or non-conference, anyway.
Because would you rather, beat up on Marshall 66-0, or would you rather lose to Ohio State 24-17
and then not make the playoff?
Exactly. So it really comes down to, and Coach Elko put it, He put it beautifully at spring meetings. He said, we're all just fighting for the betterment of ourselves. We'll have a 40-team playoff, so I don't have to worry about getting fired. So I think that's in the order of importance. The evolution of the playoff landscape is what coaches and administrators are prioritizing. Is that for the betterment of our game and for the return back to what makes the average fan happy? I don't think so.
We've only got a couple, 30 seconds left. I assume you can buy this book wherever books are sold. Where else should they be looking for it?
Amazon.com is where our books hit bestseller on multiple categories. Football history, American football, football coaching. We were number one bestseller in multiple categories, especially during the holidays.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just upset that the cover photo isn't me yelling at my television. Maybe chapter 2 when it comes out.
That's Nick Douglas. Where did our game go inside college football's billion-dollar transformation? Really appreciate you stopping by.
Absolutely.
I can't wait to read this.
Thank you, guys. This is
outstanding
great
stuff, Nick. We appreciate you. We'll be back here on Sports Talk Mississippi live at SEC Media Days in Tampa.
Summer fun continues. Sports Talk Mississippi's coverage of SEC Media Days is brought to you in part by Cannon Motor Company.
Sports Talk Mississippi live at SEC Media Days, Tampa, Florida. I'm Brian Hadad. He's Michael Borkey. Our coverage at SEC Media Days presented by Pearl River Resort, Cannon Motors, Mississippi Farm Bureau Insurance Company, and Trustmark Bank. Great interviews there in the 4 o'clock hour. We've got more of that coming in the 5 o'clock hour. Also, we'll go ahead and set the stage for tomorrow because that's the first day of real local interest here at SEC Media
Of what
Days.
we're here for.
Oh, yeah. As the Ole Miss Rebels will be here, of course, we will have full conversations with Coach Pete Golding, with Trinidad Chambliss, with Keywan Lacey, and with William Eccles. Plus, we'll be talking about the Rebels with some of our national media friends tomorrow. So that's all coming up for you in the 5 o'clock hour.
And then run that back on Thursday with Mississippi State as well.
State. Yeah, no question.
We're going to be busy at the end of the week, which is,
we're working.
Which is nice. You know what? I'm proud of us, or maybe just me, because of the sports teams here, they would make you think that this is Tampa Bay, Florida. Mm-hmm. It is not Tampa Bay, Florida.
No, it's Tampa.
It is Tampa, Florida. We have not once in 1 2/3 of a show
referred to it as Tampa Bay.
We are here in Tampa Bay, Florida. No,
we're in Tampa.
We are in Tampa, Florida.
See, Tampa Bay is a body of water. Yes. You can't live in it.
And
fish live in it.
Dolphins live in it, apparently.
Dolphin?
There are dolphins out here, apparently.
Real dolphins?
Real, actual.
Are we sure they're not porpoises?
They're dolphins. There is a difference.
I'm aware that there's a difference. So
what is
I
the
asked.
difference?
The nose.
Mostly.
Yeah.
A few other things, too, but dorsal fins, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But no, dolphins out in Tampa Bay. Apparently, on the right day, you can go right around the corner and look out over the ocean, and you can see some. There's a group.
That's crazy.
There's about 800.
Because it's the Miami Dolphins, not the Tampa Bay Dolphins.
But we haven't done that once. We have not succumbed to that one time.
Nor shall we.
I've thought about it a few times.
Have you really?
Yeah.
Why? It's Tampa. We're in Tampa.
Because on the drive in, all you see, we saw a high school, by the way. Will, this might you might get a kick out of this. I forget what the high school was called.
We saw a high school that was the size of a hospital.
A massive high school, but in a big brick high school, and it was like 5 or 6 stories. Huge high school.
Right.
And on the side of this brick high school were huge, huge banners. From top to bottom, basically, multi-story banners. One of them was for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and the other one was for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Plastered on the side of the high school. They're all in around here. I guess we are technically where it's the medical and finance district or something like that. I think that's
a lot of money there.
So, something is where we actually.
I have no idea.
Are.
I just know that we're in the hotel.
We are in the hotel.
I don't go any further than that. I don't need to know what district I'm in. If I'm not in the Cotton District or the French Quarter, I don't care.
So we arrived Sunday night. Yeah. Have we left the hotel since then?
We have not. If you want to say, like, campus, we really haven't. I did go to Publix this morning.
So you did not get a pub sub. I'm going to make you do that this week.
I'm happy to get one.
I love the state of Mississippi. I love living where I
like
live.
a sub, but I had to go fix my my Coke problem, and so I did that this morning.
Usually when people fix their Coke problem in Florida, it's a different issue. But
I don't know what you're talking about there.
Tim, during that last conversation,
it's like you know, see, people like you need me. I'm the bad guy, huh? I can't even have a child with you, Borkey. Your womb is so polluted.
Classic movie. I've seen it. The audio.
Oh, you've seen that, but you haven't seen The Godfather.
Scarface greater than Godfather, apparently.
I will come over there.
The audio mixing horrible though. You really can't understand a lot of what he is trying.
What,
to
Tony Montana?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's on purpose.
The accent's bad.
The accent is bad. Borkey, you cockroach.
I'm going to issue you a challenge, Tim, because during that last conversation, Tim said NIL did ruin college football. When people say that to us, we always respond with this statement, and nobody has been able to do it. When it comes to the actual football, when the ball is kicked in the air, the teams play, there's a final score after 60 minutes usually now with the clock rules like 4 hours. But what about the actual football has been ruined? Not the conversations around it. No. The actual games, game day, the games themselves. What about that has been ruined because the players are getting paid? Show your work on that statement, and then I will admit that I'm wrong. But until that day comes, I have not seen a good argument for why the actual football games have been ruined. Not one.
Well, I said it in our interview with Nick. I said, outside the field of play, I'm not a huge guy on college football and where it is right now. Once the ball is kicked off, I am as locked in. No, it's better. It's better. The college football has been better over the last few years than it has been in years prior.
Coming up after the news, you'll hear from just all-around good guy, J.D. Piquel. I love our conversations with him. And also Peter Burns. We'll go back-to-back with them after you hear from SuperTalk News. Stick with us. Good guest coming up at the next hour.
Sports Talk Mississippi's coverage of SEC Media Days is presented by Pearl River Resort.
Sports Talk Mississippi back here at SEC Media Days in Tampa. One of our favorite guests that we get to talk to every year, J.D. Piquel on 3 Sports, The Hard Count, one of the best college football podcasts out there, if not the best.
Appreciate that. That's kind of you guys.
Will we just say one of the best? Are we okay with that?
Hey, I'm happy to be in the club, man.
Yeah,
second only to Thunder and Lightning.
I'm a very niche audience, so
I'm here for it, man.
There we go.
I'm here for it.
You're here for college football and the sport, and you and I are kind of cut from the same cloth. As I want to talk about games, players, and coaches. I don't want the business of it. We'll leave to others.
Injunctions.
Yeah, I'm not in for that. We've been talking about improved and disappointing teams. Last year you would say the most improved team might have been Ole Miss, might have been Vanderbilt.
Oklahoma
disappointment
in that
last
category
year.
too.
Yeah, disappointments. Florida, LSU. Give me an improved team and a disappointing team for 2026.
Yeah, I think improvement wise, I think LSU is going to be pretty substantially improved from where they were. If for nothing else, even just the way they look and feel watching them play football, I think will be reminiscent of what LSU is supposed to be. Because that was like the most just frustrating thing. I mean, never mind the fact that picked them to win the whole darn thing, fellas, around this time last year. That in itself was unbecoming and a tough look. But you're watching LSU
just struggled to do anything physically, whether it was protect Nussmeier, run the football. They weren't great against, it just was a collection of things where you're like, this isn't you. It's like you see your friend come back from school and it's like, you've changed so much. I don't even recognize you anymore. That was LSU. So I think they take a big jump in that regard. I'm going to get in trouble here talking about this on your airwaves. I think Ole Miss is set up to be a bit of a disappointment. Not to say anything less of Trinidad Chambliss, not to say anything less of T1 Lacey or even Pete Golding, but they had a lot of games last year that were in the one-score department that they won. I think it's very difficult for those things to hold year over year. So Ole Miss, not going to fall face to the earth, but I think if they make the playoff again, I would be not surprised, but I will not pick them to be in the playoff.
Yeah, the schedule a lot more difficult as well. That's, one of the underrated components. Like last season when we were talking about resumes, their strength of schedule was good relative to the rest of college football. Mm-hmm. And the SEC was not. It was at the bottom or near the bottom. I guess Missouri and Ole Miss alternated depending on the week. So it's dramatically increased, and that's league-wide now as well with that extra conference game. I think it's going to cost the SEC this year. With Greg Sankey yesterday saying that, hey, we had unsatisfactory conversations with the committee. I think it's going to cost the league. Do you?
I 100% think so. And I think it's like across the board in college football, the frustrating thing to me is we trust the College Football Playoff Committee, who I'm sure is a group of well-meaning individuals that I'm sure are more than qualified to have earned the right to do their job they're doing on that committee. We're trusting them to have nuance in the 9-3 versus 10-2 versus 11-1 conversation. And I don't even blame them. Like, you see 3 losses, your brain tells you, hey, that team isn't as good as the team with 1 loss. It's putting them in a box, in my opinion. So I think it will cost them. I really do.
And especially, you mentioned it in the SEC. There's so much depth that I think that's getting kind of overlooked because of what the Big Ten has done at the highest level. But the SEC still, 1 through 16, is better than the Big Ten, better than any conference in the country. And I don't think it's going to get credit for that anymore because they're not doing the thing at the very top the way that they used to.
My favorite thing with the SEC bias conspiracy is, hey, if SEC bias is real, the NFL is in on it. Because every NFL draft, the SEC has the most players drafted. Now, is that starting to even out in the first round with the Big Ten winning the first round this year? 100%. And I also think, to call a spade, I think the Big Ten has better coaches across the board. But with all that being said, the best personnel per the NFL draft still resides in the SEC. So if that's bias, so be it.
One of the teams that's here today is Auburn. That's a program that's in search of consistency. They just haven't
had all? Well, consistency, right?
It's kind of like
I am.
I'm day to day.
I've stopped looking for consistency.
I just take what I can get. I like Golish. I think he's a good coach. I think he can be successful down the road with Auburn, but I'm not sure about what year 1 at Auburn for him looks like. What do you think?
I am more concerned with how Auburn looks in year 1 than what their record looks like in year 1. Like, how many times, the last couple of years, have we been promised something at media days for Auburn football in terms of how it would look and identity, and we're going to do this on offense, and it'll look this way and feel this way. Then we get to the season, and we're like, I guess you tried to be those things, but you weren't able to execute those things that we thought you were going to be. I think Auburn football being tougher than a $2 steak, to use a high school coach's expression I played for, and having an identity, those 2 things, I think you call it a success. Like, obviously making a bowl game would be really sweet the first year, but if they can be tough and have an identity, I really don't care what the record is below 6 wins.
It's hard to believe this, too. We brought it up, and we're still surprised at this fact. Auburn has the longest streak in the SEC of losing seasons.
That
wild. Belongs to Auburn.
That is wild.
Not Arkansas, not Vanderbilt, but Auburn.
Yeah, that is insane. That's insane.
Auburn and Mississippi State play in November. That game might not take 2 hours with Levy and Golish calling plays at a rapid pace. Let's talk about Mississippi State for a minute. Kamario Taylor is the guy that I'm excited for him to get here on Thursday and everybody get a look at him. I think he's going to be one of those media day darlings just because he's so big, strong. We've all seen the things he can do physically. What do you think about him?
He's just so traitsy. You don't have to squint to see him taking over a football game, because I don't think anybody here in Tampa is assuming Mississippi State's going to have the best roster in the SEC, but what he can do, it kind of reminds me a little bit about the conversation we were having in November of 2024 with South Carolina and Lenore Sellers.
Yeah.
Different players, obviously, but just the way that Sellers took over some of those games, it was like hey, they got 16, you don't. Sorry, you guys lose today. I wonder how much of that Kamario Taylor will have to do, because the Jeff Levy system itself as well should cater to some different skill sets in that offense getting there. So I'm excited to watch it, man.
And then from an Ole Miss perspective, just a ton of talent here in year one for Pete Golding. And the thing I keep saying about them is, like, I don't know what we can learn about Pete Golding, but I don't know if we can learn anything good. Because if they go 10-2, I'm like, well, they had Trinidad and Kejuan Lacey and all these guys. How much can we learn about Pete Golding that we can apply to next year and say, yes, Ole Miss is absolutely on the right path?
I really want to see that defense take a jump. I want to see that defense be physical, because that's one of the reasons why I'm a little bit leery of them. Like, gave up right around 4 yards a carry. And so, when you have a quarterback in Trinidad Chambliss that can be the wideout for some of those things, that's great. But, when we're losing those one-score games, you look back at the box score and see how much different teams ran for. It's like, man, actually that wasn't that chill. And now our head coach is the defensive guy. Like, that has to be fixed. So I think if the defense can take a step forward, that would create some goodwill. Then obviously you'd like to see the record be in a place that's not too much of a far cry from 10-2.
When you think about defensive players in this conference, who stands out to you? I mean, I feel like there's so much focus on Arch and Trinidad and the running backs, Hardy and Lacey and so on. When I say, who's the best defenders in this conference, give me a couple of names that just pop right for you.
Prince Willu Manmielen is a guy that Ole Miss fans are obviously very familiar with. Yeah. Him at LSU will be fun. A guy that's staying with LSU here, a transfer that's sort of flown under the radar, but people in Baton Rouge just keep talking about, is Ty Benefield, who transferred from Boise State. They think he's going to be phenomenal this year. Cortland Guillory, the corner for Oklahoma. He may be the best DB in this conference, in my opinion, or at least the best DB that doesn't play for Georgia or Alabama in this conference. And he's going to be one of the only underclassmen that plays for Oklahoma on that defense this year. So there's, obviously in the SEC, a lot of names, but those guys, a couple that jump to mind for me.
It's only day 2, but we have gone this far this week, and I think you saying Alabama just now is the first time we have said Alabama. I mean, we've done, 15 interviews or whatever, and a full show, and we're doing this one today. Alabama, in just short order, has started kind of flying under the radar a little bit. They're just kind of in the mix like everybody else. Yeah. How do they get, or can they get back to being the forefront of the league again?
If you're Kalen DeBoer, maybe you appreciate kind of flying under the radar a little bit. Like, maybe, as in my opinion now, less noise around your football program allows for a greater opportunity to deliver your messaging to your players. And if I'm Kalen DeBoer, I'm not second-guessing my messaging. I know, hey, my stuff works. From Fresno State to Washington, now at Bama, even year 2's made the playoff. There's a lot there that I know if we can instill this into our locker room, we're going to have success. So maybe less noise is a good thing here. But tell you what, in September, I believe that Alabama will definitely be a conversation for better or for worse. And I think they're well aware of that.
He's not Nick Saban, but the guy did take Washington to the national championship.
Yeah.
So it's not like he forgot how to coach football.
And the fact that we're not talking about Bama, too, with a quarterback battle going on.
Yeah.
We don't know who's going to be the guy there. Some people say Austin Mack, some say Keelan Russell, which honestly makes it even more impressive. I will say, Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb, if we're trusting a group of individuals to pick a starting quarterback, pretty good track record, right? Ty Simpson, Michael Penix Jr. I know Jalen Milroe, Bama fans weren't thrilled with how that went, but Ryan Grubb did not work on Jalen Milroe's game with Kalen DeBoer. So, I'm excited to see it, man. It's going to be fun.
30 seconds. Tennessee was the team that maybe you didn't predict to make the playoff in year 1 of that. Ole Miss was the team last year. Who's the team that you wouldn't predict to make the playoff that can?
Wouldn't predict to make the playoff, but can. I think Alabama. I think they'll be 9-3 is where I lean right now. A lot of new stuff. It's hard to ask a first-year quarterback, brand new O-line, to all work the way that it needs to work.
We shall see. JD Piquel, On 3 Sports, The Hard Count. Don't miss that podcast. Appreciate your time as always.
I love you guys.
All right, back on SEC Media Days in just a minute.
Summer fun. Sports Talk Mississippi's coverage of SEC Media Days is brought to you in part by Cannon Motor Company.
Sports Talk Mississippi back at SEC Media Days here in Tampa. We are brought to you in part by Max Tree Service. If you need tree removal and land management in Southwest Mississippi, Max Tree Service is your answer. Call Max Tree Service at 601-695-1717. A giant oak of a man.
Oh.
Peter Burns from the SEC Network joins us.
I have been called a lot of things, especially from you.
Yes.
I don't know if giant oak of a man has ever, I didn't have that on the bingo card, so I do appreciate that. Right.
It's always good to talk to you here at SEC Media Days.
He's here. He told me ahead of time he's here to break down Ryan Fox's win, by the way. So you can go ahead and step out.
I got to be honest with you. I don't know who that is.
Well, Ryan Fox, Open champion.
Oh, okay.
The champion golfer of the year. I think that's how they call it in their little English accent or Scottish accent over there.
Champion golfer of the year.
There it is. So he ended up winning. And actually, right when I got in, Mark Schleybaugh, the first thing he says to me at Media Days, he's like, "Did you see how quickly Ryan Fox played?" I was like, he goes,
"It's amazing."
I was like, "Dude, that's awesome." Because I call SEC men's golf every single year. And especially on the women's side of it, too. And I'm like, this is going to be a 6-hour round. More like God. I'm like, then you see guys like that hit it that fast. I appreciate it.
So he's a guy that kind of came out of nowhere and won the Open. Nobody would have picked him ahead of time. Is there a team in the SEC right now that can maybe win the league, win a national championship that nobody is talking about or thinking about in that space right now?
I think the only true contenders, national championship contenders, are going to be the Texas of the world, the Georgias of the world. I can see LSU, hitting it just right if Sam Leavitt's 100% healthy. I can see Oklahoma, who with their defense, if they can get by that second game of the year up in Ann Arbor against Michigan, I think all of a sudden the momentum starts rolling. But I want to take it a different story because I saw, on my social media feed, you guys started going viral because of the conversation with Will Stein.
Yeah,
and I just got done doing that Regions podcast with all the new coaches, and I was blown away by Will Stein.
Yeah,
I'm like, this is fresh, it's new, it's exciting, and he's confident. Then he shows up this week, and he's asked the question, why are you going to win? And I thought it was a great human moment when he goes, I know this is going to sound bad here. So he caught himself. He understood what he was saying, but he goes, because of me. I'm the reason why. And it wasn't like a cockiness, remember Lane Kiffin, grab your popcorn back in the day? That was cocky. Okay, you guys have
and the game that followed was a quick humbling.
Yeah, quickly. But it was more of a confidence that they needed, and I love that about Stein. And I think that's kind of what's won college or SEC Media Week so far.
And I love what Indiana has done to the college football conversation because in years past, fair or not, a Will Stein at Kentucky, you just go, whatever. I mean, you would just
know who the hell you are. You're Kentucky football.
Exactly. That's gone. That conversation is completely over. Mm-hmm. You can go win at the highest level at Kentucky, at Ole Miss. Basically anywhere in the country you can win like that.
And now, I'll never forget one of the most alpha of alpha moves I've ever seen was right before Indiana's about to kick off against Alabama. Kurt Cignetti's on the sidelines, and Pat McAfee's doing his cast, his show, all cast on the show, and he kind of turns around and he looks at Cignetti, and Cignetti gives him this. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, locked in.
My man is locked in.
Yeah.
I was, and guess what happened? They flat out embarrassed Alabama. So why not? Now, I think there's some nuance to that conversation because Indiana goes and plays in a respected conference that has 3 national champions, but I don't think it's as tough top to bottom 1 through 18 as playing state, as playing damn sure Ole Miss, LSU, Georgia, South Carolina. There's so much that makes the SEC top to bottom a little bit tougher, but still credit's due.
We talk about best players, most athletic, blah, blah, blah. As a guy who gets to watch all of the games and do all the highlights, who's your favorite player to watch in the SEC this year?
This year, Pavia was so much fun for every different reason because he had that kind of Manziel type thing. Yeah. Spending time with my good friend Nick Douglas down there in Oxford and spending time with Trinidad Chambliss. You wonder about, all right, I guess watching TV, and you guys know it, when you watch TV, you're like, man, Trinidad looks like a quarterback, a little short, and then you get to meet him, you're like, bro, he's like 5'9". Like, what? How is this possible? So I think to see how he's developed has been really fun going forward. And then on the flip side of it, the guy that looks like he should be, an Adonis when it comes to football is Lenore Sellers. The guy is an absolute freak. And so I'm really kind of curious to see what Lenore's can do now with Kendall Browse as his offensive coordinator in South Carolina.
Yeah, that's a good point. Browse made KJ Jefferson into a monster in that offense, and now with Sellers, that makes talk about two freak athletes. Everybody week 3 is talking about LSU Ole Miss, rightfully so. But Mississippi State, South Carolina, Kamario Taylor versus Lenore Sellers could be a battle like that.
We should just put a ball in between them. You ever seen the movie Troy?
Yeah,
where the two best fighters
go
out
go.
There? Put the ball in the 50 and have the two quarterbacks.
It's like a quarterback Spider-Man meme.
Yeah.
It's like they're pointing at each other, like who's going to take over right now. And that's why I think coming out of this week, and you guys have done a great job covering it, is the idea of there are so many good, talented quarterbacks this week. I can have 10 different top 5 quarterback rankings, and none of them are wrong because of the depth of this league right now, especially in that quarterback.
I mean, you think about last year with the All-SEC team. It was Nussmeier and Lagway and Sellers, and then we go at the end of the season, and it's not any of those guys. Somebody like that's going to pop up. Who are we not talking about then? Who could that quarterback be?
Yeah, I mean, Byron Brown is really interesting with him coming in with Alex Golesh, because what they've done is similar to what Arbuckle and Batir had done, similar to what Diego Pavia and Eli Stowers did, which when they get to campus, it's not only a head coach or an assistant coach that comes with them, it's also a group of players. And that's what you can do in the transfer portal, right? Like, you can now take, all right, I'm going to take my team, Byron Brown, and you're going to say, I'm going to bring 3 receivers that he knows with already, rather than trying to piecemeal this together and trying to figure out that chemistry. So I think Byron Brown is going to be really interesting out at Auburn, because, I mean, go back and look at what Golesh did at Tennessee. The numbers that he helped put up, and part of that was Heupel's number, but it was still his offense that he called. Look at what he did at USF. So I think that they hit the ground running right from the jump.
Vanderbilt might have one, maybe not week 1 or week 2 because he's a true freshman, but by season's end, we might be talking about Vanderbilt having a quarterback in that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about Jared Curtis, a guy that, I mean, think about this world that we live in. He was a Georgia no-brainer. This was going to be the dude. And all of a sudden, he's like, I'm going to flip to Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
And then
shout out Nate Bargatze.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, that's the thing, because that city has juice right now. And think about Cedric Alexander. He could have gone, okay? He wanted to run it back. Well, again, Junior Sherrill, unbelievable wide receiver. He could have gone. He wants to run it back again. So there's just so much damn talent, and that's why this league feels more and more like the NFL and the football we watch on Sundays, more so than everything. That any given Saturday now, there is an upset. I don't know if we could have said that maybe 10 years ago, but you look at the numbers, a lot less blowouts anymore, and the field is shrinking right now, and that's how it is in the NFL.
There's a lot of parity in the SEC right now, but at the top, with Georgia and Texas, those are the 2 most talented teams, in my opinion. If you had to pick one to edge over the other, who is it?
I mean, I think it's Texas. I mean, right now, Sark had pretty good defense, and then he's like, nah, not good enough. I need Will Muschamp. And then he brought in Stoops to kind of help him out with that defense as well, too. And you get Cam Coleman, you get Arch Manning, and this was always the plan for Arch, is to take their time and build them up to the year that everything aligned. So people think, they worked the portal, they worked transfer portal and recruiting well. This was a plan that Steve Sarkisian sold the Mannings that said, hey, by 2026, this is the year that we put him in a situation where he'll be the number 1 pick of the NFL draft, because we're going to surround it. They have built it for this moment, and now it's on.
A couple of minutes left, and you mentioned the documentary that you're a part of with Pete Golding. I feel like Golding is, I don't call him a new coach because of the little playoff run that they had, but at the same time, this is his first full season in charge. He's got to make all the decisions. What are your thoughts on year 1 of the Golding era?
I mean, I called him a new coach, and that was part of the deal. And go to the Regions Bank YouTube page where we did this whole series on the idea, Brian, of like, who are these new coaches? And we asked Pete about that, and a lot of it was like, man, last year was just kind of staying afloat. I want to put words in his mouth, but it was just on like, hey, we got this, let's get it going. And now comes every single media request, every single this, every single that. Everything has to funnel through him. And honestly, I don't think it phases him. And, I mean, again, some of these guys, all of a sudden they get caught up in their head, and they're like, I need to do this, I need to do that now. With Pete, he's got a big old chew in. He's like, all right, boy. I mean, I had an opportunity to hang with Pete when I was in Oxford doing a shoot with Trinidad, and what was fascinating, Luke, what's the kid that they got in? The linebacker
Farrelly.
Luke Farrelly. That kid he's unreal. He's unbelievable in conversations about how he kind of takes it to the next level, and he's so damn young. So. I mean, I don't see them missing a beat whatsoever.
I thought you were going Has for a second, and we could talk about the hair.
It's a flow, man. I mean, all of these guys now, that's the whole thing. I mean, like, again, John Mateer's got that. All these guys want to have it. I mean, again, it's the idea that they want to stand out, because if they do, I think the co-eds like it, and B, the name, image, and likeness, it works out pretty well.
Well, we got about 30 seconds left. Any comment on my cousin Chris?
To hell, God, this is unbelievable. I'm done. I'm done with the interview. I'm out.
I get it. I understand. Peter Burns, SEC Network. Good to see you. We'll be back here on Digital Drive. Sports Talk Mississippi live in Tampa. Our SEC Media Days coverage is brought to you by Rayco. Rayco, your printer and copier solutions expert in Corinth, Tupelo, Ripley, and Oxford. Go to RaycoCopiers.com for more info. That's all. I don't care what they say about us anyway. I don't care about that. I don't care about that. I don't care about that. I don't care about that.
From the Seabrook.
Sports Talk Mississippi's coverage of SEC Media Days is brought to you in part by Trustmark Bank.
And a big-time hit.
Sports Talk Mississippi back with you here on a Tuesday live in Tampa at SEC Media Days. Brian Hadad and Michael Borkey here with you. Our coverage at SEC Media Days is brought to you in part by some of our local sponsors, Metro Ford in Tupelo. At Metro Ford in Tupelo, they're more than just a car dealership. They strive to support their community and are committed to delivering the best customer service. MetroFordAutoSales.com. R&M Tire Pros in Starkville is your hometown tire and auto repair service center that has been serving Starkville for over 30 years. RNMTirePros.com.
I was talking to a friend that I grew up with.
You don't have to lie.
Who's got a 9-year-old over the weekend. And they're big Panthers fans. That's what they are. They love
Florida
the Panthers.
Panthers or Carolina Panthers?
The Carolina Panthers. Florida Panthers are in Miami.
Yeah, I know that.
Or outside of Miami or whatever.
But you say the Panthers, it could be, Pitt.
But I was talking to him, and, just we were catching up. It had been a while. He's got a 9-year-old son that's a big Panthers fan with his dad. And I hear him in the background, and he's like, "You going to see Baker Mayfield? Will Baker Mayfield be there?" And I was like, "No, he's not going to be there." And he's like, "Oh, man, I want to meet Baker Mayfield." And I was like, "Buddy, you are not hating the way you need to hate as a Panthers fan.
Yeah.
You should not want me to see Baker.
That should be the last guy you want to see.
The follow-up should be, are you going to see Baker Mayfield? Send me a message. Here's, I'm going to tell him he's number one.
Give me the old what
thing.
For.
Yeah.
The old razzle-dazzle.
If you're going to be a Panthers fan, you've got to hate this guy. I was so disappointed. I was like, you're raising your son wrong.
Can you imagine if we were in Atlanta and your son was like, "Dad, if you see Michael Penix, tell him, hey." He disowned that kid.
It's not Penix this year.
Or whoever it is.
Woo!
That's going to be fun.
He's, but yeah, no, I'm not going to see Baker Mayfield. I don't want to see Baker Mayfield because I am a hater. Glad you guys are with us. Sports Talk Mississippi. Coming up, well, go ahead.
I was going to say, coming up tomorrow, that's our, like I said, the first 2 days. Look, we love college football. We've loved and enjoyed talking about all of these teams. But tomorrow is the day where we have to really lock in. Ole Miss will be here tomorrow. As we've told you earlier, Coach Pete Golding will join us, as will all three players, Trinidad Chambliss, Kejuan Lacey, and Will Eccles. We were told, we've heard through the grapevine, that no player at this event received more requests for interviews than Trinidad Chambliss did. We will get one of them.
On that, point of order, as you guys have probably figured out by now, during the day is when we get a lot of these interviews because people aren't going to hang around here until 7 o'clock Eastern. They got their own work to do and stuff like that. The plan is to have 2 Ole Miss players live when the show begins.
Right.
And then the other one, which will be Kejuan, and Pete Golding will be recorded ahead of time. So the first hour tomorrow...
They're not all at the same time, right? There's 2 players?
No.
Okay.
It'll be one at a time.
One sits down, we talk to him, the next guy...
But the present plan is to open the show with one of them sitting here. So if you're listening tomorrow,
so hold up. Trinidad Chambliss trying to take my job?
Yes.
Well. Now we see the plan in action.
You're considerably more budget friendly.
I am. I come a lot cheaper than Trinidad Chambliss does. I promise you that.
So he better be pretty electric.
I'm also taller, just barely, but taller.
You know, people ask, especially on the podcast, like, well, what do you want to hear from Ole Miss this week? And there's a lot. I mean, there's.
Is it what you want to hear or what you don't want to hear? Do you not want to hear the words Lane Kiffin?
I was getting to that. So, yeah. I want to hear Trinidad and Kewan talk about the new offense, and they won't give – they're trained. They get trained by Kyle Campbell and his team to not give away specifics about scheme, I guess. But
yeah.
And so that'll all be interesting, and I'm looking forward to hearing from all of them. And Kewan, the video game cover, those kind of things. We'll talk about all that.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
But you said it, and that's what I hope to hear from Ole Miss tomorrow is they're going to be asked a billion questions about Lane Kiffin. They do these breakout room things, and these guys are going to get asked about that kind of stuff. I want, if it were up to me, the answers to be, that was last season, I'm focused on my team right now.
Right.
When Pete Golding gets asked about it, he'll give an answer, I assume, similar to one that he got at spring meetings.
Right.
Look, I loved working with Lane. I really appreciate him. I got too much on my hands right now to be relitigating that.
Right.
That's what I want to hear all day. And frankly, some people won't like this. Be boring tomorrow. Be boring. Because people here want to poke and want to get you to get a soundbite about Lane so they can put it on Twitter and Trinidad Chambliss takes shot at Lane Kiffin even though he probably
Or
didn't.
maybe the other way, not so much taking shots as they're going to ask, why didn't you go?
I will ask that.
To LSU. That question's going to get asked.
All three of them.
And, yeah, exactly. And so it becomes maybe not necessarily taking a shot, but they get a soundbite of LSU this, Ole Miss that. I don't know.
And you can frame that a certain way.
The takesman will be out in full force for that one.
But that is what I want to hear from Ole Miss tomorrow. That was last year. I'm not talking about last year. I've got Louisville to focus on week 1, and I don't have time to think about any other game besides that one. Boom. There's your answer. Done. Copy, paste, and say it in every media op that you've got, and you move on.
That's going to be interesting because people are going to push.
They're going to
They're going to poke the bear for sure, or the land shark, depending on who you ask. And they're going to try to get those sound bites. I mean, it's been when we get to Thursday, Kiffin will give you a sound bite. He's not. By the way, I disagree with something you said earlier that you can't tame.
You can't tame. Well, but they took Twitter away from him.
Well, that's fine, but he's going to have a live mic and he's going to get asked questions and. He's willing to deal with the consequences after. He is absolutely willing to get a phone call from the commissioner, from his athletic director, from whoever, and to say, "Hey, you can't. We told you couldn't do that." Oh well, I'm sorry. I won't do it again.
I will say, if I'm connecting dots that may not be there, Lane Kiffin would have been told ahead of time. You don't. You're not going to do that anymore. You don't. If somebody asks you about the Vanity Fair article, you say, I don't have a comment on that. I'm focused on my team, and you move on. That will have been the exact message sent from the league.
That is what they're going to say. But, that's what they're going to say for Ole Miss. Golding will play ball. He'll follow the rules. But I just don't know so much about
There's a reason T.J. Daugherty came.
I agree with that 100%. I'm kind of surprised Prince Will didn't, to be honest with you. Just get them both out here.
Well, they don't want buyout questions from him. Daugherty
That's a good point. And the other guy, too, Harper, right?
Yeah, but he's not going to start.
Well, yeah, but you could still bring him and just put him out there. Would you have put it, if this buyout thing wasn't a thing, would you have put it past him to bring – he didn't bring Levitt, so he didn't bring Seton. Would you have put it past him to bring Daugherty, Umamielen, and Harper just to be like, these are my guys, or Watkins, and say, these are my guys. They came with me. They're the guys we're going to build around.
Somebody said, what can they really do to Lane? Like, he can't lose his job or get suspended. There is, in the league bylaws, you can get fined if you continue to
What's a fine? Like What's a fine?
They fought hard to get a fine away from him for the faking injury thing.
That's right. But even then, what's a fine? What is the fine for a guy who makes, $15 million a year?
Something like that.
It's a $5,000 fine. It's like fining one of us $5.
We get asked, when is Pete Golding going to be on the podium tomorrow? So he will be with us. I would encourage you to, listen to Sports Talk Mississippi so you can hear a one-on-one conversation we're going to have with him. But he will be on the podium in the big room at 12:30 Central. 12:30 Central is when he will be on.
Mississippi State, I've been told, later in the afternoon on Thursday.
I will be able to tell you that information right now.
We have exact numbers here. Go ahead, Michael Borkey.
Jeff
Really?
Levy, Pete Golding have the
They told me it was going to be later than that.
Main room.
I believe you. I'm just saying.
1:30, which is 12:30 Central.
Again.
But yeah, it looks like Levy and Golding, if I'm looking at this correctly, have Levy and Golding. Isn't it crazy how that's what we're saying now? I think 5 years ago, Levy and Golding are. It's crazy how we've gotten here.
Did they work together?
They
did not.
They did not. They just missed each other.
5 years ago, we were saying Leach and Kiffin.
Gosh, so yeah.
If I'm correct, it's only been 4 years. Mm-hmm. It's only been 4 years, but yeah.
But they have the exact same schedule, just different days. It appears players, coaches, and everything. So,
do you think the ESPN guys got State and Ole Miss mixed up again?
It has happened before.
It's happened before,
and it will happen again. Somebody says exactly what they will do. Borkey, treat LSU like just another game and focus on Louisville. I mean, we keep saying this, that you can't help what media guys do. We're going to talk about God knows what between now and the season begins, and what we talk about has no bearing whatsoever on the results on the field. But it will be...
Well, if they did have results on the field, I would talk a lot more. Or less, whatever got the job done.
But Louisville, I keep saying this, can beat Ole Miss if Ole Miss does not play well in that game.
Right.
So Pete Golding, I promise, is going to have a message of...
We're focused on week one. Levy will do the same.
If it wasn't Louisville, if it was Middle Tennessee,
maybe
that would fall on deaf ears.
You're right.
Louisville's not going to fall.
Louisville at least keeps your attention. Sports Talk Mississippi live here at SEC Media Days. We'll wrap up day 2 with you when we come back.
Summer fun can... Sports Talk Mississippi's coverage of SEC Media Days is brought to you in part by Mississippi Farm Bureau Insurance Company.
Oh, one-handed catch.
Let's wrap up day 2 with you here at SEC Media Days, Sports Talk Mississippi. Live here in Tampa. Brian Hadad, Michael Borkey, Houston McDavid. Caleb Sailors has arrived. He'll be doing a lot of our social media content. If you're not following Sports Talk Mississippi on TikTok or on Instagram or on Twitter or Facebook, you're missing out. We've had a lot of great content. We are clipping up all of our interviews. We're going to have some exclusive content to social media, so check it out if you're not following it already. Full.
And Thursday's going to be full.
Loaded. So check that out. Our coverage at Sports Talk Media Day. I'm sorry, it's SEC Media Days.
We call it Sports Talk Media Days.
I mean, at this point, we're the only ones left working, I think. So it's brought to you by our friends at Pearl River Resort, Cannon Motors, Mississippi Farm Bureau Insurance Company, and Trustmark Bank. So we've got Ole Miss tomorrow. Who else is on the tap? It's Alabama, Florida, Ole Miss, and who else?
Tomorrow is Wednesday. If I carry the one, yes, it's Wednesday. Alabama, Florida, Ole Miss, and Texas A&M.
The Aggies. That's 4 really interesting teams.
For different reasons.
Well, you've got 3 teams that were in the college football playoff a season ago. 2 of them would have said their season was disappointing. I'll take it back. Let's go back a step. Alabama would have said their season was disappointing. Texas A&M would tell you the way their season ended was disappointing, losing to Texas and then losing the first round of a home game against Miami. Ole Miss would tell you they had the best season maybe in school history. And then you have Florida, who had an awful season but has a head coach now that coming in that everybody's super excited about.
Yep.
So 4 very different teams, 4 very different outcomes to the 2025 season, 4 very different, but I would say not hugely different in their projections for this upcoming season. I think Florida is going to be one of the most improved teams in the SEC this year. I think they're going to be not in the playoffs, but a team that can, be on the periphery. Maybe in week
fun.
10, 11, 12, we're still talking about them like, ooh, they could get in.
Yeah.
Ole Miss is kind of the same way for me. A team that I don't know that they'll be in the playoff, but they'll be in that discussion all year long. A&M A&M's another one. I don't think they'll be in the playoff. I think they'll be in the discussion all year long. And then there's Alabama, who coach may be, call it like a shadow hot seat, the hottest shadow hot seat in college football. Nobody's saying right now. Nobody's saying anything. I'm just saying that Kalen DeBoer, if he doesn't go to the college football playoff, and he's missed it 2 out of 3 years in a 12-team playoff era,
and it's going to cost.
That's not going to go over well. And because Greg Byrne, who's a guy I have a lot of respect for, I think he's a great athletic director, just decided in the middle of March that I needed to extend my college football head coach when nobody's trying to pluck him away from me, it may end up costing him $60 million. The price of Milo's tea is going to spike.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you've been asking our guests so far about surprise teams and things like that. In the league this year, playoff expectations, only 12 teams can make the playoff. And I don't know if you knew this, there are more teams that play college football than those in the SEC.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't know from College Game Day.
So others will make the playoff too.
Right.
Missouri, playoff.
No.
But here's what I'm getting at. These are fan bases that think that their team should or could make
Missouri's
the
team that's been the closest without making it over the first 2 years here.
Missouri's won. Yeah. Oklahoma, same
They
thing.
expect to be in.
Tennessee.
I don't know about this year expect to be in, but they're going to be mad about it.
If they don't,
they're going to be mad about it.
So that's what I'm getting at. So there's 3 from day one.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia.
They expect to win the national title.
Auburn does not. South Carolina does not. Vanderbilt does not. But that's still 4
then we get
league.
to this week, 3.
Alabama.
3 of your 4.
Ole Miss, A&M.
All expect to be in the playoff.
And then the last day, LSU, Texas.
Those they expect to be in the playoff. 9, State, and who's the other team?
Arkansas.
Arkansas is just happy to be here.
Just happy. They collect the checks.
They just like, you know what, guys, let's look at the baseball.
But that is 9 teams in the league with fan bases that will be mad if their team does not make the playoff.
So 9 in the SEC, and then you go to the Big Ten, and Indiana and Ohio State and Michigan and Oregon and USC. That's probably the 5. Penn State maybe.
Penn State fans always expect that.
They expect to be in. Over in the ACC, Miami. Say what you want. Florida State fans expect it. They expect it. They're not going to get there. They're going to be mad. You could probably say the same thing for Clemson. You could maybe say the same thing for North Carolina. They expect Belichick to be
into the sun.
And then you go to the Big 12. Texas Tech expects to make it. And then, you've got we know the Big 12 is the world's largest crapshoot.
BYU expects to.
Everybody expects to win the conference out there. Nobody in the Big 12 comes into the season saying we can't win this conference.
And don't forget about Notre Dame.
And then there's Notre Dame. So
and then somebody from the G6 has to make it too.
So for a 12-team playoff, we just gave you like 35 teams. Maybe we do need to expand it. I don't know.
A lot of disappointed fans in college football when the season ends.
And the other side of that is, and I saw a tweet that made a good point about this, like talking about national title or bust. Only one team wins the national title. When you set your level at national title or bust, buddy, the odds are stacked against you. I don't care who you are.
We will see you tomorrow. Like Hadad said, if you are on social media, SportsTalk Mississippi, SuperTalk Mississippi, we will have clips for you throughout the day. It is Ole Miss Day in Tampa. We will see you then. Pete Golding, all 3 players will join us exclusively on this show right here. We will see you then. Have a great night. See you tomorrow at 3.
SuperTalk Mississippi Media Production.